Hi everyone! This video isn't going to be a dog training tutorial this time. I'm going to be recounting the stories of when my dogs have been attacked by other dogs. And I previously haven't talked about it online because I felt bad for the owners of the people whose dogs have attacked mine. But I really think that it is going to be helpful for some people who have been through the same things. And the reasoning is when I see stories on Facebook, which is sadly so frequent, of other trainers, other just dog enthusiasts, or even famous trainers, their dogs being attacked by other dogs in all these different situations, I find it has been healing to know that I'm not just being paranoid when I have a panic attack, when I see a loose dog, or I see a dog that looks like it might want to hurt my dogs on an extremely loose collar, or with someone who's not holding onto the leash properly, or a child is holding a flexi leash with this enormous dog that's glaring at me as I'm trying to get to my car after walking in the park. So another thing is that quite a while ago, when I was talking to a therapist about my having panic attacks where my heart races and I start sweating and panicking, I can't even talk properly and I have to run back to my car, the therapist said I was being irrational about the fact that other dogs might attack mine. And I had said to them, do you have dogs? Have they ever been attacked? And that person said, no, never. And so you don't really understand until it's happened to you. So, well, I guess, let's think. The first time that sadly an attack was avoided was when I just had Kiko. Oh, I can go back even further. I had a beagle and one of my neighbors had a Rottweiler. I won't mention the other breeds further on, but this was the beginning of my fear, is that the Rottweiler was so big that when the dog started to chase other dogs, she would let go of the leash. And one time as a young, I guess I was, 10 or early teens, I ran with my beagle away from the Rottweiler and I made it into my house and closed the gate before the dog got to me. And then about a year later, that dog bit holes in another dog's head, a Cocker Spaniel, very similar shape and size. So I would have this terror and nightmares about the Rottweiler getting my dog. And then Kiko, my little Chihuahua, the dog that I got after the beagle, one day we were walking on the beach and this car driving really fast past us had two large dogs that looked like they were going to jump out the window at us, and they did jump out the window at us. But the car was going so fast that when they hit the ground, they weren't able to get up, sadly. It was really horrible. And the owner came and threw them back into the car and drove off. So nothing bad happened. But I was really shaken up because now I wasn't only looking out for dogs, I was worried about dogs in cars. So that continues on to when I got Splash as a little pup. I was at a dog. Basically, I already had a fear of strangers with loose dogs, but I had this safety thinking, if it's in a training environment, I can let my guard down. So Splash, my border collie, who sadly passed when she was 13. This was way back, 13 years ago. We were in a dog training class. She was a puppy. Another person had an Aussie puppy, and Splash and the Aussie puppy were friends. And one day she brought her adult dog, which was a small little dog. And as she walked over to the class with the adult dog, and there was going to be off-leash play, I thought, oh, can Splash meet your adult dog? And she said, sure. And I asked if the dog was friendly. She said, sure. And I figured, if the dog lives with a puppy that's like my dog, chances are it's fine. But as soon as Splash got over to say hello to the dog grabbed her face and just started shaking her violently, and then finally let go. And then she said, oh, that's like the third time that's happened. And so that really upset me a lot. But, you know, I've never said anything about this because I didn't want to upset anybody. But hopefully it's been, you know, over a decade with all these stories, so hopefully no one gets offended. But the trauma still lives with you. So just recounting these, and now it's been over 10 years, so I don't get really emotional, but it really changed Splash, and that is also when she started to become reactive to dogs and people. So I do believe it was in her genetics, because her mother was very reactive to all people except the people she lived with. And I thought it was just because she lived on a farm. But it was in Splash's genetics, but being attacked as a puppy didn't help. So then fast forward, Splash is about a year old, and she's playing with another trainer's dogs, and we're at the beach, and then suddenly the other dog gets overexcited and splashes in the water, and the dog grabs her from behind the neck and just pushes her under the water, and we have to run over, and the dog's just not letting go. I'd done so much extensive training with Splash because she was so reactive to dogs that when the dog bit her, she just stood still and waited for us to go help her. But that dog wasn't letting go. I tried pepper spraying it in the eyes and the nose. Finally, the other trainer had to stick their hands into the dog's mouth and have the dog bite on their arm to get the dog to let go of my dog. And I was very, very grateful for that. But the incident also really, really messed me up. And poor Splash, I think she is such an intelligent dog. She realized, oh, I see, that dog I should stay away from. And she didn't generalize to all dogs. So that was very nice. But there was another trainer that her dog kept biting Splash. And what Splash did generalize was, if there's a trainer, then the chances of being attacked are higher. So if people looked like a professional trainer, Splash would start to shake and put her tail between her legs and just want to go home. She would do this thing where she'd go between my legs and then look at me with her tail tucked, as if to say, you know, I want to go home. Even if I mentioned certain trainers' names in the house, that was enough to make her start shaking, thinking about being attacked or bitten by dogs. And I feel so bad because I had let my guard down, because it's like in a training situation, it seemed safe, and I've been so careful with loose dogs and then let my guard down in training situations. So anyway, the years went by, and I was able to keep her safe. And oddly enough, she was a great decoy dog in dog training situations. If she saw that a person was like unskilled and not a trainer, and I was telling them what to do, where I was like, you know, in control of the situation, she was perfectly confident and happy. But if trainers showed up, she would start to worry. Then the next incident, and probably the one that really, really, really hurt, because it changed my dog forever, even though it wasn't a serious physical injury. My little terrier Tug, and I haven't told this story publicly, maybe in like a comment somewhere, thinking no one would find it, but he was a very joyful puppy. When he was in an open space, he would just get the zoomies and run for joy in circles. When he'd play with dogs, he was really, really social and friendly with dogs, and he would allow them to chase him and run in circles, and he just exuded joy. So at 1 year old, I was so proud of his training. He was amazing at freestyle. I brought him to a conference, his first seminar that he accompanied me, and it was just me and him, and I had to stay at the host's house at that point because I was a young trainer, and I didn't want to ask to stay at a hotel, so I stayed at the house, and he got on really well with the person's dogs. But then another trainer came to stay at the house, and their dog was outside playing with a jolly ball, very excited. And it just looked like a dog that was, obsessed with their toy. And I said, is it okay for Tug to go outside? And they were like, sure. So I figured, I'm not going to ask if the dog guards or if they're okay with dogs. I think asking if I can go outside with Tug off leash to play is perfectly fine, since I'm the visiting dog trainer. So I go outside, and I would never have had Tug with a larger dog in a dog park or in a park like that, but I let him run around. And because at the time we had a small yard, he saw this huge open green field, and he was so excited to be in this big space, and he just got the zoomies, and he was going round and round and round, happy. And there were some other dogs that were living there, and they were playing, and he was running around. And as he ran within like 10 feet of the dog with a jolly ball, and as you can imagine, I hate jolly balls to this day, the dog ran out from the ball and bit him as he was running. And he seemed okay, and being embarrassed for the owners and the trainers that invited me, I was like, oh, he's okay, let's get him back playing again. And I didn't look at his body, and I let him play a little bit. And then I noticed him, 2 minutes later, just continually checking his side. And I was like, maybe he has, he looks kind of wet. Maybe he's got the dog's slobber on him. And I go over, and there's like a flap, like a triangle flap. And I lift it up, and I can see his muscles and like bubbles of yellow fat. And I was just horrified, completely horrified. And as we drove to the vet, the ER with him, all I could think about is, I want to go home. I don't want to stay here. I want to fly home now. I don't want to do the seminar. But I shut up. We went to the vet. He got sewn up. And then at the seminar that I didn't feel like doing, I had him in a little jacket so that no one would know that he had been attacked. And I was really upset that the person whose dog attacked him didn't seem like, or was in denial about it. It didn't seem like a big issue to anyone. And at the time I was like, he's going to be okay. He's a really, joyful little guy. But he was okay at the seminar. But then a few weeks later, he just turned into a different dog, and he stopped having joy. It was about 2 years where I never saw him be joyful. Every time he would think to start running, about a few seconds later, he would stop and then suddenly start eating grass frantically. He stopped wanting to run and play with my own dogs, and it took him about 2 years to trust playing with my own dogs, and still he only plays, he's 13. How old is he now? He's 11 now, and he still will only play for about a minute and then stop, or a minute and then come to me and then eat some grass or go around and mark. But he's an amazing dog with other dogs, but he has never trusted other dogs to just open up and be himself like he was before he was bitten. Another thing that happened is the side that he was bitten, I believe there was a lot of nerve damage, and so whenever you would try to touch him there, he would freak out. Like, it just felt wrong to him. And he still has that problem to this day. And then that was the worst in, the most emotionally damaging was to see him just change and become a different dog. And then another time, a trainer's dog, it wasn't a bad bite. It didn't cause damage, but her dog grabbed him, and he screamed and just, fell to the ground. And in all these incidents, my dogs just stood still and looked to me, which really hurt, that they were trusting me to take care of them. And then the trainer checked out their dog's teeth to see if the dog had broken one of their teeth on my dog. And that really, really hurt. And luckily, Tug was much older then, and he wasn't so shaken up by that incident. But as you can imagine, my paranoia about interacting with other trainers' dogs without knowing them well became extreme, and I stopped taking my dogs to the seminars that I did, because it's all dog trainers that would mainly go to my seminars. And then I was like, how do I trust them? How can I get back the trust? So from then on, I became extremely paranoid, and maybe not extremely paranoid, but I'm really, really careful with my dogs about the interactions they had with other dogs. And so since then, I've really prevented things from happening. So I got Wish, my border collie who's 6, and she was really fearful of people and dogs as a puppy, and I had this protective mom bubble, like no trainers' dogs will meet her, and I'm going to protect her. And so every socialization trip I took where there might be dogs, I'd go somewhere with a busy road, and I would make sure that it was a place dogs were most likely going to be on leash. And so we were around this Petco with a busy road, and I'm walking down the street, and I see this very large dog in a harness down an alley between the 2 stores. And I think to myself, this dog is looking at my dog in a way that is scaring me. So I immediately started to walk into the middle of the busy road. And if someone was watching me, they might have thought that there was, I was having some strange ideas in my head. So I walked into the road, and I had my eyes glued in the direction of where that dog was. And while I was in the road and there was a car blocking my vision of where the person was, the dog had broken loose of its harness. The buckles broke. The dog obviously had charged, and the harness just broke open. And I was far enough away from that car that as I saw the dog's head coming around the car towards me, I had enough time to pick my dog up and put her up on my shoulders, and her legs were hanging out in front of me, and this huge dog just jumped up. And it was the afternoon, and the light from the afternoon sun just shone down into the dog's mouth, and it was open so wide I could see down the dog's throat, and the dog was aiming for to put his whole mouth around my dog's legs that were dangling. And sadly, I protected my dog, and I kicked the dog really, really hard in the chest as he was coming up, because I had my hands full, and I just slammed the dog in the chest, thinking, not today, not this dog. And the dog was like so confused, he might have hit his head, who knows. But the owner had time to run over, get the collar, and then it makes me almost teary, but it was a long time ago. It was 5 years ago. And nothing bad happened. But I had her on my shoulders, and then I couldn't put her on the ground. I walked her to the car on my shoulders, even though, we were far away from the danger. And I walked down the middle of the road with the cars going, to the left and the right. And I got in my car, I drove home, and weirdly, after that incident, Wish was way better with dogs in the environment. I think she totally saw that I would, save her if something bad happened. But the sad thing is is that there are dogs that can become aggressive, and there are dogs that will bite. And the truth is that you can't really trust what any person says to you about how their dog's behavior is, even if they're a professional. And so you really have to be the one advocating for your dog. And if you've not had your dog been attacked or chased or traumatized, even if they weren't even bitten, but chased, maybe by an overly friendly dog, you really can't. I don't know where I was going with that. I started thinking about the fact that there isn't really an overly friendly dog. Those dogs that are overly friendly are actually bullies. An overly friendly dog would be a dog that saw that your dog was upset or worried and then kept a distance. That's called being friendly, is when you don't go in someone's space when they don't want it. That's not friendliness. So dogs do get scared when dogs run at them, because it's not friendly. So the point of this video was that you're not alone. Lots of people have had these horrible incidents happen to them. Recently, hearing Laura Monaco Torelli's story about her incident where a dog attacked her and her dog on Michael Shikashio's The Bitey End of the Dog podcast, that also was really healing. I hate that it happened to her, and I remember seeing her Facebook post about it, but I think it's really healing to hear other people's stories and hear how it affects you and your dogs. It's life-changing. And so sometimes I drive to a place I'm going to walk, and then I don't get out, and I drive and I go somewhere else. And sometimes I drive everywhere and I see problems with each location I drive home, because I live in the country. So I could drive 30 minutes to a place where I know dogs are going to be on leash. But there's a trail that I went to recently with my brother and his girlfriend, and as we pulled up, I was like, no, I can't get out, I can't get out, I can't get out. And they were like, you can, there are 3 of us. And I was like, no, drive me home. So I have times where I'm like that. And I also bought because I miss walking on the trails. Ever since COVID, there have been more loose dogs on trails where people aren't respectful of letting their dog run over when you say, please don't. So I have a little buggy that I push, and if a loose dog comes, Wish goes in the buggy, I close it, and then my other dogs can be what the loose dog might run to if I am unable to prevent them coming over. But for the most part, if I want to walk multiple dogs, I recently got a question about this. How do I walk all my 7 dogs? And I don't feel safe walking all together, because if a loose dog comes over, I can't do anything if they're aggressive. I can't save all my dogs. I can't put them all on my shoulders. So what I do is I go early in the morning or late in the evening when it's cool enough to leave the dogs in the car, and I switch. I'll take some dogs out and I'll walk them where I can always see my car, and then switch dogs and then walk them again. And they all have these beautiful beds and crates inside the car, and they really love being in there. And if it's a nice day, I will open the windows and stuff where they can see what's going on and smell the breeze. And that's what I do. And if the park is not, if I'm too scared to go to the park, I will park at a mall that has strips of green grass and lots of dog pee. So I'll walk around the mall a few laps, and then I'll switch malls. So I'll go to different malls, or sometimes I'll go to a park and then just walk where I can quickly go back to my car if a loose dog comes over. So that's how I manage the trauma of loose dogs coming over. And it it really is good to talk to people about that have also been through the same experience. So that's why I'm making this video. It's happened to me as well. I've just been very quiet about it because, you know, when it's another trainer's dogs, it feels terrible. But hopefully you won't know who they are because it's been so long. And for those people who I talked about, I'm sure you all feel really bad that these incidents happened. But but I just thought this video might be better to talk about it than keep quiet about it. So I really hope that this doesn't happen to you, but if it does, it's so common. And if you have if you have a dog that has the potential of hurting another dog, it's important to not feel socially pressured to have your dogs in situations where things might go bad. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found this video helpful and healing. And if you would like to subscribe to my channel, you're welcome. And leaving a comment and liking videos also increases how many people see them. So I really am always appreciative of any time people interact with my videos. See you later.